Is it possible to achieve financial independence if you're a veteran, active duty, guard, reserve, or retiree? Absolutely. Happy Veterans Day to everyone who has served in the past and present. If you're brand new to my channel, my name is Sai and I am an Air Force veteran. Every veteran had their own reasons to join the armed forces. I know people who joined because they didn't know what else to do. I know people who joined because they didn't want to go to college. I also know people who joined because they wanted to be adventurous. Whatever your reason was to serve, from one veteran to another, I thank you for your service. And I don't want to just say thanks, but I want to help you achieve your financial freedom. My platform has focused on helping people, including veterans, to achieve financial independence. But what does it mean to be financially independent? How about you never have to worry about working a 9-to-5 job to pay for your everyday expenses? How about you never have to worry about paying for your next family vacation? I almost sound like one of those pyramid schemes or the multi-level marketing campaigns, but I promise you I am not, because you're the one who has to do the work if you want to. And we all know that the military wants you to focus on maintaining your readiness physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. But are you maintaining your financial readiness? When I enlisted in 2005, there were many things I wish I had known back then, or I would have retired as a millionaire many years ago. So in this video, I want to go over the financial independence checklist for veterans and what you can do to maintain your financial readiness and retire or separate from the military as a multi-millionaire. You don't even have to serve the full 20 years to become a millionaire or achieve financial freedom. Looking back, separating from active duty was one of the best decisions I've ever made. However, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't make informed and smart decisions to separate from active duty. You don't want to leave any job without a plan, right? So anyway, I'm a financial coach for many clients across the US, and I've talked to many veterans who had questions about the TSP, Roth IRA, and other investment options. I promise you I'm going to get to those later on in this video. But the real issue I'm seeing among veterans is the lack of financial planning. Does an E3 making $30,000 a year in base pay need financial planning? Absolutely. From my experience in active duty, financial literacy was rarely talked about. And for the longest time, I didn't even know where my TSP was invested until someone told me I should put it in the CNS funds, not financial advice. It doesn't matter if you're just serving 4 years, 8 years, or 12 years. You need to start thinking about your financial planning as soon as you complete your training and get to your first assignment, because every $100 you invest now could turn into $600, $700, or $800 in the future. Now, the first thing you need to have to start your financial planning is creating a budget. You need to know how much is coming in and how much is going out. Besides the fact that the enlisted are severely underpaid across the industries in the private sector, most veterans are drowning in debt like credit cards and car loans. I knew many 18, 19, or 20-year-old who just got to their first duty station and decided to purchase a pickup truck or a Mustang with 24 or 25% in interest because they simply didn't know how devastating these car payments were going to be. And when I was active duty, I had almost $42,000 in total car loans, $47,000 in credit card debt, and $20,000 in personal and TSP loans. I didn't realize how bad I was in debt until I added everything up to almost $110,000 in consumer debt. My monthly payments were about $1,400 in debt repayment, and I got a second job and a third job to pay off my debt completely in 2 years. You can check out this video about how I paid off $47,000 in credit card debt, and I will put the link in the description below. You don't necessarily have to do 20 years in the military to retire early. Although the military pension plan is by far the best one across industries, including the Federal Employee Retirement System, or F.I.R.E. I want to show you this FIRE checklist that I created, and I've been using it for my FIRE journey for many years. And the first step is to calculate your financial independence or FIRE number. This is probably the hardest step to figure out because your expenses will increase every year based on inflation. And contrary to what many people believe, your total annual expenses can be as low as $40,000 a year. And if you multiply that by 25, and this is just an example, that's $1 million invested when you withdraw 4% of $1 million every year. Then you could theoretically make $40,000 a year in passive income and keep the portfolio growing for 3 or 4% every year. But let's just say for this video, just for the sake of this video, you're going to retire in 20 years. With an average inflation rate of 3%, your total expenses by the time you retire could be $70,000 in 20 years. When you multiply that by 25, then it's about $1.75 million. Again, this part is all hypothetical. What I would also add is at least 2 or 3 years of expenses set aside in cash or bonds in case of a bear market. So if it's $70,000 a year in expenses, then I would set aside $140,000 or $210,000 in liquidity. When we experience a bear market like we saw in 2022, I wouldn't want to touch my investments when they're down 10, 20, or 30%, right? My $1.75 million investment could decrease to 1.5, 1.25, or even $1 million during a bear market year. If you're retiring from the military, you can also count that pension towards your FIRE number. Let's say your pension is gonna be like, let's say $30,000 a year after 20 years of service. Then I would just add $30,000 to this block with the pension income. And I would just need $1 million invested because I could withdraw $40,000 a year from my investment and make $30,000 a year from my pension income, which is a total of $70,000. And I also wouldn't need to save as much in my bear market fund because my military pension would start as soon as I retire from active duty. You can also get this FIRE calculator that I just used for completely free by visiting firesetschat.com/contact. And if you're a veteran who needs help with your personal finances like budget, savings, and investments to achieve your financial independence, you can schedule a free one-on-one 30-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesetschat.com/coaching. I am always giving out discounts to those who have served and currently serving in the armed forces. After I figure out your FIRE number, the next thing I would do is save my emergency fund up to the deductibles. And that can be anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 depending on your car insurance and anything that you may need that's necessary and unexpected. I made a detailed video on the emergency fund and I'll put that link in the description below. When you have $1,000 or $2,000 set aside in your emergency fund, I would invest in your TSP, but only up to the employer match. If you're in the blended retirement system or BRS or BURS, then you get the 5% employer match when you contribute 5%. You can do this on my pay to change your contribution amount by percentage. You can either do traditional or Roth, depending on your financial situation. If you're in the legacy retirement system or LRS, then you don't get the employer match. I was in the legacy system, so I actually skipped this step and paid off all of my debt, which is step 4 of my FIRE checklist. And once I paid off my $110,000 in credit card debt, personal loans, and car loans, I maxed out my emergency fund, which can cover 6 months of my expenses. Now that I'm married and my wife is also working full time, we can just save up to 3 months of our expenses in our emergency fund. If our expenses or if your expenses are $3,000 a month, then you want to have $9,000 or $18,000 in your emergency fund that is completely separate from your normal checking or savings accounts. I have a high yield savings account with Ally Bank, not sponsored by Ally Bank, that pays 2.5% in interest every year right now. And again, we only use it for something that's necessary and unexpected, like when our house flooded when we came home from vacation. The next step would be to max out my Roth IRA. I'm going to cross out HSA because if you're in active duty, you're enrolled in TRICARE and that makes you ineligible to contribute to an HSA. Same thing if you're receiving disability from the VA. So let's just focus on the IRA in this step. And I have been maxing out my Roth IRA every year at $6,000. Starting in 2023, my contribution limit will increase to $6,500 a year or $7,500 if you're 50 or older. Let's say the contribution limit increases by $500 every other year, and you get a catch-up contribution of $1,000 when you turn 50 years old, with an average annual return of 10% over the course of 35 years will allow you to invest up to $2.75 million in tax-free money. I'll say it again. Just by maxing out your Roth IRA from age 25 to 60 with a $500 increase in contribution every 2 years and a 10% average annual return, you could mathematically have over $2.75 million in tax-free money invested. This is not theoretical, it's mathematical. And then step 7 is to max out my employee retirement account, or the TSP. Again, if you're in the legacy retirement system, then you don't get the employer match, but you get to contribute up to $20,500 in 2022 or $22,500 starting in 2023. And it's completely okay if you can't max out your retirement due to your income. If you're making less than $75,000 a year, I don't expect you to max out your retirement contribution, but if you're making enough to contribute $22,500 starting in 2023, then the contribution for each paycheck will be $937.50 twice a month on the 1st and the 15th, or the monthly contribution would be $1,875. If you're 50 or older, the catch-up contribution is $7,500 starting in 2023 on top of the $22,500. You can do either traditional or Roth contributions depending on your overall finances. And just to give you a different from a different perspective on why investing in TSP is so beneficial, they have really low fees if you compare their funds to the private sector 401ks. You can check out this video about the TSP investment strategy in the description below. Let's say you decide to max out your TSP starting in 2023 at the age of 25, and you decide to max out your TSP for the next 20 years. You're going to serve in the military. I'm also going to add a $500 increase in the contribution limit every year. With a 10% average annual return, your TSP could grow from $0 to $1.8 million by the end of your 20-year service. Even if you stop contributing at the end of your 20 years, your $1.8 million could grow to $7.5 million by the time you turn 59 and a half. It's incredible how compound interest works, right? Even if you decide to just serve, let's just say 8 years in the military and separate from the service, you can actually leave your money in the TSP where it's at. So let's say you decide to separate after 8 years at age 32 after maxing out your TSP every single year. Just by leaving your money in there until you turn 59 and a half, your money could grow to $4.45 million with a 10% average annual return. Incredible, right? This is why it's important to get out of debt and budget your income and expenses. The 60-year-old version of you will thank you for putting every dollar into the retirement account in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. This is not a magic show. It's simple math. The younger you are, the bigger the dollars will grow for you. And once you get to steps 8, 9, and 10 of my FIRE checklist, you're most likely in the financial independence stage or the financial abundance stage. What's the most valuable thing in your life in this stage? It's time. Would you sacrifice 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years of your life to pay off all of your debt so you can invest and retire early? Once you get out of the financial dependency cycle, then you can set aside some time to be with your family. You need to set aside some time to go on a vacation. You need to set aside some time to do something you love to get away from all the stress that you get from work. I know it can be extremely tough, especially when you're away from your family for months or even a year on a deployment. Not being financially ready could lead you to bankruptcy, losing a security clearance, or an involuntary discharge from the military. And the DoD could give you all the training they want in financial literacy, but it's going to be up to you to want to achieve your financial freedom. You can be a high performer at work, but having these high interest debts will only make you a low performer at home. Be intentional with what you're saving and be intentional with what you're spending. And if you want to know more about how to invest in your TSP and Roth IRA, be sure to check out these 2 videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.